I would like to welcome you to this Candidates Forum on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Cape May County. And we would like to thank Congress Hall for the generous use of this beautiful hall and for the assistance given by the employees. The music stop of Cape May Courthouse is filming this event for tonight. My name is Mary Conley, and I am president of the League of Women Voters. Diane Young will be your moderator for this evening. But first, please stand for a salute to the flag. And there are flags everywhere. You can all have your personal flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The League of Women Voters. I'm going to take my mask off, but I hope that everybody else keeps theirs on for right now because I understand it's difficult to understand what I'm saying. The League of Women Voters of New Jersey is a nonpartisan political nonprofit that works to empower voters and defend democracy. Founded 100 years ago, we make democracy work by protecting voting rights and encouraging robust participation. Election and voting are core concerns for the League of Women Voters. Leagues are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. The League of Women Voters never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or of footage from this forum in campaign materials featuring our logo is not permitted, and that includes internet, cable, radio, or television. Our normal policy is the moderator must not be eligible to vote in the election being moderated, and therefore should have no personal interest in the outcome. However, because of COVID-19, we were unable to secure the services of a moderator who lives outside of Cape May County. Diane Young, who is our moderator for tonight, does live in the voting district, but she is very experienced and seasoned. Thank you. We are going to have to go locally for that. There are 5 candidates running for 2 seats on the Cape May County Freeholder Board, and they've been given the rules of tonight's debate, and Diane will go over those again. Shelley Tibbetts will be the timekeeper and will raise a yellow card or red card depending on the time remaining. As a courtesy to the candidates, please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices now. Many of you have received your ballots in the mail. I urge you to vote timely and to not ignore the general questions on the back of the ballots. After a great deal of research, the State League is asking you to vote no on general question number 3. You can mail your ballot or use one of the drop boxes in your area. These locations are listed on the Board of Elections website. Again, we'd like to thank Congress Hall and the music stop. I'll now turn this over to Diane Young, our moderator. Thank you.
Good evening. The public and members of the Cape May County League of Women Voters were invited to submit questions for this forum. The majority of the questions being asked tonight are those from the public, with the remainder from League members. The only members of the League that have had access to the questions have been the League President, Mary Conley, the Voter Services Director, Corrine Robinson, and myself, Diane Young, as the moderator. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to make an opening statement. I have chosen the order of opening remarks, and the order for closing remarks will be reversed. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer all questions asked. The allotted time for response to the question is 90 seconds. I will rotate the order of response to the questions. In lieu of a rebuttal for each question asked, if a candidate's name is mentioned specifically by another candidate in his or her response, the specifically named candidate will have 30 seconds to offer a rebuttal if desired. If it's a team is mentioned, I will probably ask one member of the team to make the rebuttal if you want to. You're not required to do that, but you can have that opportunity. At the end of the question and answer session, each candidate will be allotted an additional 90 seconds to respond to and/or clarify comments made during the question and answer session by opposing candidates, or take this opportunity to add supplemental information to previously given responses to questions. There will be no separate closing statements. A timekeeper, Shelley Tibbetts, will be seated in full view of the candidates. A yellow sign will be held up when there are 30 seconds left, and a red sign will be held up when time is expired. Candidates will be allowed to finish his or her sentence, but will not be given extra time. Now, for the 30-second rebuttal, the yellow card will go up with 10 seconds left, and the red card when it's finished. Candidates, we will now begin with the forum. For question number 1, we'll begin with Mr. Sciarra. What do you consider, first opening statement, Mr. Sciarra, excuse me. Yeah, Mr. Sciarra, your opening statement.
You hear me? Okay, sorry. All right, good evening. My name is Brenda Sciarra, and I'm running for Freeholder with Liz Casey. Just want to thank my wife, who's a saint, and I like to thank my parents, and I like to thank, the hard work they've shown me, and that's, one of the reasons why I'm running for Freeholder. I get up every day, and I, persevere, and I realize what delayed gratification is. And I feel like I can bring this to Cape May County, and I can bring a voice that has not been on the Freeholder board for probably 20 years. And, me and Liz will be able to work together and show the taxpayers and what Cape May County we can do. Thank you.
Mr. Morey.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So my name, of course, is Will Morey, and very pleased to be here this evening. My wife, Janice, of 37 years, I think I got it right this time, is with me tonight. And I think our two children, Kyle and Will, are watching virtually at this point. I am a second-generation partner with my brother in the Morey organization, which consists of Morey's peers and other related companies. And it's a privilege to be challenged by my brother each and every day. I want him to hear that since I think he's watching. Morey's peers or the Morey organization consists of 150 year-round staff members, and we swell to about 1,500 seasonal members. I've been privileged in my professional career to serve in a number of leadership roles, including as chair of the 5,000 member company International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. Disney and Universal are both members of that organization. And my interest in this position grew out of a desire to create stronger and more proactive connections between the county, its municipalities, and the state. And for me, local office is about working together to achieve community betterment and tangible projects. That's how I intend to conduct myself this evening. My top goals are centered around resiliency, good government, and creating opportunities for our residents. Even with that, job one, of course, is to get our residents and our businesses through this COVID epidemic. So I value the opportunity to discuss these items tonight, as well as other important topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Ms. Casey.
Thank you so much. First, I want to say thank you to the Cape May County League of Women Voters, Congress Hall, and the Music Stop for putting on this forum tonight. Ms. Young, thank you as well. My name is Liz Casey. I am from New Jersey originally. I grew up in Morris County. I moved to Cape May County after I graduated from law school and clerking for the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. I had met my husband in Ocean City one summer, and he was already down here, and I relocated here to Cape May County. My husband and I have lived in Beasley's Point section of Upper Township for 24 years, and we raised our children, and they went to Ocean City High School. I have one in college who is at campus, but doing it online, and my son decided to take a year off because of COVID and is going to be working as a ski lift operator this year with his free time. My husband, Dr. Jerry Horowitz, and I are deeply involved in our community, and that really is the source of my reason for running for Cape May County Freeholder. We think Cape May County is a fantastic place to live and raise your family, but we think it can be better. We think that there can be improved infrastructure. We think that there can be less spending. We think that the Cape May County itself can improve the lives of our residents can be improved by a more active freeholder board. I know we're not supposed to have closing arguments, so I'm going to give my call to action right now and say vote column 1 in November.
Thank you. Mr. Pierson?
Good evening. I'm Freeholder Jeff Pierson, and I would like to first thank the League of Women Voters of Cape May County for sponsoring tonight's event, as well as Lee Robinson for keeping us all up to date on the procedures and requirements for this evening. I've been a Cape May County resident all my life, first as a baby living in North Wildwood, then Wildwood Crest until I was 26, marrying and moving to Rio Grande, then Green Creek, and finally a resident of Marmora and Upper Township since 1979. I have 3 grown children, Christine, Jennifer, and Jeff Jr., who gave me 13 beautiful grandchildren. All of them reside in Upper Township. I have 59 years of government service to our nation, state, county, and community. I have served in the Army as an enlisted man and retired as a brigadier general. I have served as the undersheriff of Cape May County Correctional Center, as the Veterans Internment Officer for the County of Cape May, as well as the County Fire Coordinator, and now as Freeholder. I have served on the Zoning Board as a member in Upper Township, and as a member of the Township Committee. I'm a life member of the Marmora Volunteer Fire Company and have served in numerous service and fraternal organizations. I have a bachelor's in public administration, a master's in administrative science, a PhD in humane letters, as well as attending numerous military and civilian courses throughout my career. I'm physically fit, ready to continue service as a freeholder, and I'm happy to be here and proud to serve this county. I'm asking for your vote in column 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Mr. Troiano?
Thank you, Diane, and thank you to the League of Women Voters, along with Curtis Bashall and the staff here for having us. This is a great event. I want to especially thank my family. My entire family showed up. My son and daughter didn't make the cut, so they're at home watching. I love them and thank them. I want to thank my family, my second family in the fire department. They support me and they keep me working hard and keep me straight. I'm with them as much as I am with my own family, so I thank you to them. A big thank you to Joe and Dina and Dave, who can't be here, for being the guiding force to a good group that's ready to do great things in Cape May County. I want to thank all the military, home and abroad, that have served and are serving now, that allow us to have events like this. And there's a gentleman, Charlie Strange. If you look up the Michael Strange Foundation, he's really been pushing, and I'm hoping he's going to get some answers. He's a great guy. I'm a fourth generation resident of Cape May County, raising a 5th generation. And I'm doing this because I want them to have just as good a Cape May County as I had, and even better. For my job, I work as a career firefighter in the city of Wildwood. So usually when I'm getting called, it's not for a good reason. I'm there when people need help. And that's why I'd like to transfer into the county politics. I want to make myself available. It's easy to do the political job when somebody's life's literally on the line and you're able to be there to help them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Now we'll begin with the questions. And begin with Mr. Sciarra. What do you consider to be the most important challenges facing Cape May County today, and why are you uniquely qualified to address the challenges you have identified?
Thank you. A couple of the challenges facing Cape May County, I feel, are infrastructure and tax and spending. I feel like we need to invest in the infrastructure. We need to take in consideration the tax and spending that's been going on for the last 5 years. The budget the spending has increased from 2015 to 2020, $30 million. I feel like if we can keep that in check, we'll be able to have enough money in order to put aside for some of these infrastructure projects regarding the bonding and natures like that. I feel I can bring a good eye on the departments. I can bring fiscal responsibility, and where there's private and government relationships that can be looked at, we should look at them. I think it's important that the taxpayers of Cape May County are represented and get their fair share. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. Next will be Mr. Morey.
Thank you. So Cape May County vies for the lowest tax rate in the state and has for many, many years at 22 cents. And while that's occurred, and we had a flat, we had no increase, I think it was a 0.1% decrease actually, we invested since 2017 $3.5 million into the bridge program that we just adopted just a month or so ago. So if we would have removed that from the tax base, we would have actually had a fairly significant tax decrease. Investing in infrastructure is critically important, and this Freeholder Board is unanimously in support of that. Getting through COVID, getting all the businesses and residents through COVID, to me, is the biggest challenge. We've made great progress in that in terms of getting businesses open. Now, sustaining businesses to May of 21 and getting people through this difficult time, I think, is the next greatest challenge before us. We've got a good infrastructure plan. I feel good about that. Certainly, infrastructure has been an issue over the time, but the Freeholder Board has tackled that, and I'm pleased with the support that I received for that. New sectors of business is critically important, and I'm really thrilled with the support that the Freeholder Board has provided for our technology campus that has just been opened at the Cape May County Airport. So we've been renovating the airport and also have added a technology sector there, which is bringing new jobs to Cape May County. That's been a goal for a number of years, and we're finally seeing it happen in a real and present way.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Next we'll go to Ms. Casey.
Thank you. So I think there are a few issues that are most important facing Cape May County. First of all is spending. While Mr. Morey does talk about the tax rate, it's really smoke and mirrors. We spend more than almost any county in the state of New Jersey. We spend double of what Atlantic County spends per resident. We spend almost double what Cumberland County spends per resident. And we have bridges and roads that are falling down. And we need to take a good, hard look at the way we spend our money in Cape May County. This is a moment for self-reflection. We need to see, was it necessary that we built a jail? Look at what Cumberland County just did. They're going to contract with other counties. They're not going to build a new jail. That's money and lost opportunity that could have gone to our bridges and roads. I think I'm uniquely qualified for this, to follow up on the question, because I'm going to look at it with a lawyer's eye. You know, when we look at the budget, we look at a snapshot, and we see that, we look at just a portion of what really happens. Is that budget showing us the expense for maintaining the facilities? Are we looking at the cleaning costs? Are we looking at other hidden costs that are in other places in the budget? And are we looking at lost opportunity costs for the rest of the county? We need to make sure that we're focusing on the importance of our infrastructure, which is a safety issue, it's a tourism issue, which is so vital to us, and I think I am qualified to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Mr. Morey, would you like a rebuttal? You
Sure.
have 30 seconds.
Sure, thank you. So, when we look at taxes per resident, it just basically says all the second homeowners don't matter. The fact that they're building second homes and contributing to this economy doesn't really matter at all. Because the bottom line of it is we all pay taxes, and the second homeowners pay taxes, and the investors in the community pay taxes as well. And that's why Cape May County enjoys the lowest or second lowest rate, and has for so many years, in the state.
Thank you. Next will be Mr. Pierson.
I look at my three are COVID-19, that seems to be a real problem, infrastructure and bridges, and opioid and substance abuse. Now, we've made great strides here in Cape May County this past year with the COVID. We have put together task forces even before the governor announced that we had issues in the state of New Jersey in declaring an emergency. We put the team together, and we started working 1 week before that governor made that announcement. We closed our Cresthaven Nursing Home immediately, and we saved lives. We had one person, one resident in that home have a COVID positive test, and we really think that was a false positive. We had 9 employees that tested positive, but they never came back into the facility due to the restrictions. So we did a lot in the COVID side of the house. We developed a reopening plan for the county, to businesses, et cetera. Will did great work in that area. Him and Len Desiderio, they got together with all the mayors. They met, did a fantastic job. We developed a safer program so that when people came in, they were reminded to wear masks, et cetera. So we did a lot in that area. As far as infrastructure and bridges, Will did a fantastic job there in focusing on our plan to get things done in the next 10 to 15 years. We're out there now working with the leadership of the federal and state government trying to find additional funds, and I'm out of time.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. And Mr. Troiano?
Thank you, Diane. Obviously, my whole mantra has been people over politics. So to me, the most important thing is the people of Cape May County. COVID has been unleashed on this whole country and on this whole world and has left everything unknown. You know, infrastructure is something that we should have been handling all along, not something that should just be coming up. If the front steps to your door are crumbling, and that's the only way into your house, you need to handle that. That should have been addressed long ago. So that's something that needs to be planned and shouldn't just be taking place after, you know, something's falling apart. But there's a lot of businesses that are not going to be opening back up next year. There's a lot of people in Cape May County that aren't going to have jobs or that are going to be struggling. One of my main focuses is providing additional resources for mental health and giving an outlet for the people of Cape May County. Cape May County is over double the amount of residents to every mental health provider, and we need to provide better. And I think if we focus on the people, things will get better. As you hear, the money's there. I'm an independent. I'm not tied to any type of party, or I don't have to commit to any group. I can focus on allocating the funds that are going to take care of the people of Cape May County the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. The next question. Cape May County is relatively small in size, but a diverse county ranging from owners of multi-million-dollar homes, a large low to middle income population, seasonal workers, and a homeless population. How do you personally learn about the diverse needs of each group and incorporate those needs into your action plan for the county? And this time we'll begin with Ms. Casey.
So this is my second run at Freeholder, and Ms. Young, you were so right about the diversity of Cape May County. When I ran last year, and before COVID this year, we were out in the community and learning all about the value and diversity of Cape May County. And I think really the way you get to know what is necessary for the residents, and even in COVID, Brenda and I have done this, is meet with people. People want to be heard, they want a voice. Just this week, we were in Wildwood because, you know, people reached out to us and said, we don't think you hear us. So we went and we listened to what their concerns were, and that's the way you bring community concerns to the Freeholder Board. You have to be out in the community. I work in Ocean City, I live in Upper Township, Brendan works in Wildwood and lives in Wildwood Crest. Both of us are involved in our communities. I'm on my church, I'm an usher at my church, and Brendan, you know, has got young kids, so they're involved in sports. We both own our businesses. And I think really it's listening, and listening with an ear to solutions.
Thank you. Next will be Mr. Pierson.
Well, yes, this is a very diverse community, all the way from Upper Township down here to the point here in Cape May. And I've traveled almost every one of these communities by foot or on my bike as a kid, walking and talking to people for all my life down here. experiences of trying to save lives during storms when I was in the National Guard, and being into the community and helping them get through and get them out to a safe place. So I have a very good feel for this county. But I want to point out that there's many commissions and boards that are formed under the county, and each freeholder has numerous ones, and they all deal with the public. We work hard closely with the public to find out more of the needs, and we work as a team to try to develop the funding and push the resources to those particular areas, such as mental health and things like that. We have a very close working relationship with all these organizations out there that are privately owned, and we try to make the best happen here in Cape May County. We look for grants. We get tons of grants from the federal government, the state government, and we also have our own resources that we put in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Troiano.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. Cape May County is relatively small in size, but a diverse county, ranging from owners of multi-million-dollar homes, a large, low to middle-income population, seasonal workers, and a homeless population. How do you personally learn about the diverse needs of each group and incorporate those needs into your action plan for the county?
Thank you, Diane.
You're
When
welcome.
you ask that question next, you have to add home to an NBA championship coach as well.
That's
Congrats
correct.
to Frank Vogel. So when you speak diversity, I don't think anybody on this stage can even come close to matching how I deal with diversity. Being a graduate of Wildwood High School and being very fortunate that I had the parents I had, my friendships with who I call family were very diverse. Black, Hispanic, poor, rich, gay, straight, every one of them. And they were all welcomed into the home, and I call them family. And I think it's quite simple. The way you deal with them is you treat them like family, and you treat everybody equally. And that's one of my reasons with going independent. There is no group that I have to aim my resources to. There is no group that is subject to benefits while others are subject to maybe getting less. It's diversity is kind of what has me up on this stage. Diversity is what has me running for Freeholder, because there are people who deserve, the respect and the representation, and I don't feel they're getting it. My job as a firefighter, I deal with much diversity. I deal with all of them. And at the end of the day, when you treat people like human beings and you treat them right, and you allocate the resources and funds to people who need it, whether it's beneficial or not, you do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Cape May County is a very diverse community, and I feel like the most important thing we have to worry about is also our children in Cape May County, making sure they're involved in different activities, making sure they have the proper care, because I think it all starts with our children, and once they grow up in the Cape May County and they have a good way and discipline, I think it's very important, and they can lead into good patrons of the county. I also feel like our homeless. I feel like we have to make a homeless shelter. I think that's very important, possibly in the county. Transportation. I feel like we have to offer adequate transportation for our workers, for the buses, and making sure it's the availability to pick up and it's easily accessible, which will drive our economy. I also feel like in Cape May County, you have to make sure the programs are there for these individuals. And these programs are really important for, on their way up from grade school to high school, and it really, leads into the opioid, problem that we're having in Cape May County. We have to have, the activities, and we have to make sure it's a community-based, and that's what will drive Cape May County and make it more better diverse, and make sure everyone's represented.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra, and Mr. Morey.
Thank you. So diversity is a blessing, right? But it's not useful or productive unless you engage it. And that doesn't mean having an open door. That means going into the community. That means being available. That means, giving folks your cell phone and contact information so that they can contact you at their convenience as well. And I think that it also involves sharing ownership of the problem. So it's fine for me to listen to a concern from an individual that comes from a whole different walk of life than mine, but am I willing to not only try to understand his or her walk, but am I willing to try to take a piece of that burden as well and understand how to do that? And I've thought in many ways Cape May County punches beyond its weight, using a boxing term, and I don't like boxing really, but they really do. There's a great amount of care and concern in this community. We're blessed as a Freeholder board to have community organizations that really roll up their sleeves and get to work. And I think as a Freeholder board, our focus is to not only engage ourselves so we have direct knowledge and information, but also to support these organizations in a very strong and diligent way.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. The next question. One of the most frequently mentioned challenges for the county is the quality of employment opportunities, not just for the younger population, but for all residents who are seeking better job or career options. What steps should the county take or has taken to broaden and enhance these opportunities? And this time we'll begin with Mr. Morey.
Great, thank you. So I'm pleased to say that the county has engaged in this area in a really significant way. So certainly we should continue to bolster tourism, right? Tourism is extremely important, and there's derivatives of tourism that we have engaged. Wineries and the aquaculture industry and industries such as that. So it's really important, not just the core summer, but to look at the shoulder season and derivatives of tourism. But beyond that, I think we've all recognized as well that attracting other sectors here, and we started looking very closely at technology through the UAS, or unmanned aerial systems, and drone systems, and made some good success there. We have a company that's now based in the Woodbine Airport that has a significant part of its operations there. But beyond that, we recognized that there was a tech sector that could be, if we created a kind of a cool environment and we invested in a building, that we could attract a sort of a niche sector of technology. And that's when we invested in our Tech Village facility. We partner with the US EDA. I'm a giant fan of collaborations and pulling people together to address the problem. We had Lower Township involved, we had US EDA, we had the Atlantic County Improvement Authority, all involved in raising a project up that would be the focal point for the emerging tech sector here in Cape May County. And it's happening as we speak.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Can you repeat the question one more time, please? Thanks.
Certainly. One of the most frequently mentioned challenges for the county is the quality of employment opportunities, not just for the younger population, but for all residents who are seeking better job or career options. What steps should the county take or has taken to broaden and enhance these opportunities?
Yes, it's really important that we guide our employees to find jobs in Cape May County. I think it's important that the Cape May County could have an economic task force or a board who represents kind of like ACA, kind of like Atlantic County does, where the business community can, and other private sectors and public sectors can work together and try to form different relationships within the county. I do believe in partnerships are very important with different improvement authorities throughout Cape May County. I also think that we need to look beyond state, federal, how we can attract business. We have, our ecosystem, our fishing, our oysters, our wineries, breweries, restaurants are very important to Cape May County, and we have to make sure we have the ability to, service them, and, transportation. I think transportation, which will also help in job and economic growth, to make sure our transportation is there. I feel like that's a major issue in Cape May County. But I think the partnerships and an economic advisory board for Cape May County is something that we can look at, and look at our sister community, Atlantic County, through the ACA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Pierson.
Well, Will covered all the good points that are happening right now, and there's a couple programs that I've initiated. I started before COVID hit, and now hopefully that COVID is slowing down, I'll be able to get out and about and meet all these people and greet them and move further on them. The first project I'm working on is for the juniors and seniors in high school, the ones that aren't going to the college, the ones that are going to stay in the area that we hope we can get them into good jobs, the industry jobs, pouring concrete, smoothing concrete, those types of jobs, plumbers, roofers. And my proposal is, and we've been working now with the Atlantic County Community College and the Tech Center, is to bring in local vendors, to bring in local contractors, to bring in union people and set up a day at the Wildwood Convention Center and have these kids come in there and do hands-on training and try to interest them in the job skills. The next thing I'm trying to work on, and with Curtis Bashan here, right here, that owns this facility, is a food-to-table program that will employ not only local children and families on farms, but it will also get the homeless a place to work and get them back into the community. So these are just two quick programs I have to cover right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. To be honest with you, I know of some of the issues that are being worked on, but at 20% unemployment rate, we're a long ways from getting things straight here. Not everybody has an airplane, so they don't really focus on the airport. Not everybody's involved in amusements, so I think we need to start looking outside of that. To not restrict other businesses that may come in, to have outside eyes that may, see what may be best for the county of Cape May, and allow others. From what I hear, it's an agreement that, the Atlantic County, the ACA, they can provide resources. I think there's an opportunity out there. I think, being as an independent, like I said, it doesn't affect anyone for me to go out and bring in other groups. It won't, I won't be affecting any donors, or I won't be affecting any promises. So, I think there's a ton of opportunity out there to provide for people. The county, Cape May County Tech can also provide, get back to being a technical school. There's trades out there that, my father with concrete, he can't keep workers. There's many trade jobs out there. Let's focus on them. Let kids know that that's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. And next, we'll hear from Ms. Casey.
Thank you. So COVID has changed our economy, and I don't think it's going back to the way it was. And I think we have an opportunity that we can seize on here in Cape May County. And in the short term, I think we need to take advantage of the fact that people are going to be telecommuting. Ocean City's school population went up about 75 students because people from Pennsylvania have stayed down here because they get to go to school in Ocean City 2 days a week. Cape May County is a great place to live, and they're going to see that in the year round, and we need to market specifically to families that are fleeing our cities. We need more families down here because there will be a small business ripple effect. You have more people who need services, and there are businesses that are going to come from that as well. So I think in the short term, we need to market Cape May County to families who are fleeing the cities and get them to live here year-round, because the more year-round population we have, the more better skilled employees we have, the more businesses that will emanate from that. In addition, I think as in the long term, we need to take a regional approach to our economy. And as Brendan mentioned, the Atlantic County Economic Alliance is a model for us, and that either we join with them or we look to form our own alliance to work with our neighboring counties to show off Cape May, Atlantic, Cumberland counties as a region, whereas as a region, we can attract larger businesses. We're never going to get Amazon down here, but we need to be a niche that we can attract small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casey.
May I respond to Ryan's comment?
Yes.
Thank you. So, Ryan, I've been blessed to be a pilot for 45 years, but I don't need Tech Village to park the airplane that we've been fortunate to operate in the company for a number of years. Tech Village is all about developing the technology sector, and the airport is a hub for that. And we're using it that as a launching pad, essentially, for that technology sector. And fortunately, our partnership with Atlantic County is one of the key ingredients that really help to make that happen. It is about partnership and focusing the tech sector in some part of the county where it can grow is critically important, and the airport was the best place for that, given the developable land that was available.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. The next question. As we move forward after the election, what kind of programs will you promote to improve the lives of the homeless and underserved of Cape May County with regards to finding housing and providing for health care? And we'll begin with Mr. Troiano.
Thank you. As you know, my focus has been mainly on mental health. Mental health goes along with opioid addiction, goes with drug abuse, goes with falling on hard times, goes with becoming homeless. Addressing the homeless situation definitely isn't an easy one, because a lot of times people become comfortable with where they're at. People don't want to seek help. And it's a cost that most people don't look at getting a return on. So my thing would be, you don't look to a place that's an island, somewhere where there is no resources for them, somewhere where transport is limited. You look to where they can be provided jobs, where they have opportunity to have public transportation to get to work. So without knowing exactly the resources available through the county, I would have to take a look at, land that's available, transportation paths, and stuff, and the funding. So my thing would be, get the numbers straight, because it's hard. That's one, that's hard to get. And two, look at the resources available. And three, look at the finances, and then you make your plan and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Casey.
I keep forgetting that we need to hold our mics. Cape May County has a persistent homeless problem, and we really need to take aggressive action to address that. The clerk's fee of $3 per transaction has gone to the Homelessness Trust Fund, but we need to have more than a 10-year plan, and we need to act sooner, because people who are homeless can't wait 10 years. We need, in the short term, to fund our partners. We need to fund them Cape Hope, Family Promise. We need to provide them adequate funding, because one of the ramifications, I think, of COVID is we're going to see increased homelessness. So we need to make sure that we're designating funds where they need to go to address our short-term problem, and then we need to think about the long-term homelessness shelter. And we need to take stock of our spending and look and see where we can direct funds to make sure that we provide for our most vulnerable members of our community. And the homeless are one of the most vulnerable members of our community. Additionally, in terms of health care, which was, I believe, the second part of the question, I think we need to increase transportation for our veterans. And we need to make sure that the VA down here put pressure on the federal government and the state to make sure that the VA facility down here in Cape May County is fully staffed with physicians, and that our veterans whose health care is so important are met.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Yes, our homeless, problem is a problem in Cape May County, and I feel like it's really important we do hit it head on. I feel it's important that we put it to a homeless shelter, possibly offshore in the Crest Haven area. And I feel like if we can work with our private and public partnerships, Cape Hope, Family Promise, other programs, and work with the homeless to make sure they have the proper and adequate care, I think that's really important. I think the transportation for our homeless and making sure they can get and come to work. There's some work programs. We get them into the private sector regarding some jobs to feel they're part of our community. I think that's the first phase. And then, regarding the spending phase, we do need to look at the county budget and say, listen, maybe there's some money that we can put towards these programs because it's going to help us out long-term for that. And on the health side, we need to make sure, our veterans, I'm a big advocate of making sure our health, maybe a veterans community, a veterans advisory board, which looks at the different chapters throughout the county and goes and meets with them. Transportation to and from the VA hospital is important. And, maybe we can, like I said, again, look at the budget. Is there anywhere that can be siphoned off and help with the transportation? That's important. But I think it's really important that we, up front put our work, then in the end, there'll be rewards.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Morey.
Thank you. So workforce development is a giant piece of this, I think, and I'm really pleased with the sophistication and diligence of the county's workforce development program. They've got a great team. They're going to be moving into new headquarters soon, and they're critically important to training folks for these not only technology jobs, but also at all levels of training to help folks that have fallen on harder times, like the homeless, to be more productive. We're not. Our understanding is that homeless shelters are not really the best practices or the best direction at this point. The integration of the homeless community into the communities, into housing with job opportunities, you've got to match it. You've got to match them with housing, you've got to match them with integration, and then also into job opportunities is the course that we really want to look at further. I'm really pleased. This is Jeff's area of sort of laser beam focus. I'm more focused on the economic side. But I'm really encouraged that the county has taken such a strong position, certainly around veterans, but also in supporting financially and not only financially but through service the partners that are really collaborating on this issue. So those are the focuses that I would be viewing and trying to join Jeff on his work.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. And next we'll hear from Mr. Pierson.
Well, hitting on the homeless, we already spend, Liz, excuse me saying Liz, but we already spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on all those organizations that you have addressed, and many more. In fact, I call that acronym city because there's so many acronyms of all the organizations that we have out there. I can never remember all their true names. All that sits in my mind is an acronym. But we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on all these programs for the homeless, et cetera. We have actually reduced the homeless rate over the past 5 years from 2016 to now. It has reduced by 25, which is significant. We have only as of the last count, two veterans that were unsheltered, and they did not want to go to a home or to a place to stay. So that's their choice, and any homeless person will have that choice. VA, we already take veterans to the hospitals in both Pennsylvania and Delaware via our own fare free transportation. We work hard with this. We have already set up the Homeless Trust Foundation Board, but we also are working with them now to develop how can we spend that money that we have accumulated in the last 2 years equitably to get our homeless off the street. And there's many ways, but we have to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Ms. Casey, would you like to speak?
My only rebuttal is that I appreciate that money has been spent, but we need to spend more. We have so much money, we spend so much money per resident that we need to focus on those who are vulnerable in our society. And while I appreciate what the Freeholders have done with these organizations, certainly I think they would say to you that we could do more.
Thank you. Next question. Data from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, the U.S. Census, and county health rankings from NJ.gov have all concluded that Cape May County needs the most improvement for children's mental health and certain other health outcomes in the state of New Jersey. What plans do you have to improve children's mental health in Cape May County? And we'll begin with Mr. Pierson.
So the question was how to improve children's mental health in Cape May
Correct.
County. Again, we work with many organizations. Senda is one that's part of our organization, and we fund them heavily. We have programs with them. We have many mentally challenged young children that go through tech systems, through special care and training programs that we fund and we work with and try to make things right for them. This is a tough call. Right now, even through COVID, the biggest problem we have right now is abuse of children, the abuse of spouses. Substance abuse has increased during COVID, not just here in Cape May County, but all over the country. Because of the shutdown, it's made people go crazy, okay? We can't cure it all, but we're damn well making a good effort at it. We are really focused on these particular subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. I can't harp on it enough. Mental health is a main focus with me, and anyone that knows me knows my children are the world. And without our children, we don't have a county anymore. Without taking care of our children, our future is going to be very grim. So my easy way of saying it, you throw every resource you have at that, because you have two issues that should be a top priority for everyone: children and mental health. Like Mr. Pierson stated, the substance abuse is up, the child abuse. There's kids, and that's part of the thing. We need to fight. We need to get these kids back in school. We need to get these kids back in programs. Some of them, that's their only outlet. That's all they have is school, their after-school program, their sports. We need to fight. We need a voice, a strong voice. Because when it comes to the children, there should be no limitations, none. If you need to reallocate funds, you do that. If you need to provide more programs, you do that. Our children are the most important things. And at the end of the day, when I'm bedridden, I expect my children to take care of me. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Morey.
So the consequences from COVID are very significant, as Jeff mentioned, and it's something that we're really going to need to look at very closely, as Jeff, as he mentioned, in terms of mental health and home, just so many aspects that fall out from that. So we'll clearly have to take a look at our investment in those areas over the next couple of years, and very likely, flex that up. Fortunately, the county is in really a very, very sound position to be able to consider that. I do think that it's important. Every child is important, and we need to make certain that we're directing tailored care to them through these partnerships. I do think it's important also that when we work with the state, that we get the data right, because there are many times where the data is expressed as a part of a total population versus the resident population, and sometimes, for instances, crime and things like that can look much more substantial than it actually is in our community. So it's sort of a wrestling match for us to try to make certain we have good data to navigate by as well. But I don't think there's anyone that would disagree that there'll be really tragic consequences from the effects of COVID, and we're going to have to perhaps reinvent our solutions to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Casey.
Thank you. So the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation ranks Cape May County 17th out of the 21 counties in New Jersey in terms of health outcomes. And we've fallen. We used to be 15, and since 2015, we've dropped even farther down. COVID is going to push us even further down. And I look back, my dad lost his job in the 80s recession, and I remember him sitting at the dining room table playing solitaire when you still played with cards for hours on end, and the loss of self-esteem. I couldn't see that as a high schooler, but now as I look back upon reflection and with age, I can see that my dad's loss of his job, how it affects your family dynamic, and how we need to work with our children to protect them, because they are the ones who are going to be really suffering as a result of COVID through loss of food insecurity, homelessness. We need to make sure that we're supporting our schools because they are going to be the resource for our children. They are where they're going to get their free and reduced lunch. The schools are where we really need to put some funds and support and reach out to them and say, what do you need from the county? What can we provide to you so we can protect our children and their mental health going forward after COVID?
Thank you, Ms. Casey. And last, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Thank you. It's really important, like I said, we start in the beginning, and when we begin with our children, we start at a young age. We have to be realistic. We have to make sure that they have the programs in order to succeed. Regarding the county, maybe we take a self-inventory on our spending, and where do we put our programs? Do we put them into, some of the local, like the Shore Family Success Center, Caring for Kids, and these are all programs that we have to look at, because if we start young, at the end, we'll have a lot less problems. Another thing, I also called on the governor not to eliminate the youth-based services in schools. I feel like it's really important for Cape May County to have a voice and to make sure that our kids have a seat at the table. Programs, school programs, sports, the COVID-19. Yes, they need to get out, they need to socialize, they need to, join with their friends, and recreation and sports are very important to keep the kids in education, to keep the kids' minds and grow, and that will make a better Cape May County.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. Next question. The county zoo would appear to present an opportunity for the county to generate revenue by charging for admission to the zoo itself. In the past, when this issue has been raised, the public was told that more money is generated through donations than would come through paid admissions. How is this determined, and how are the donations accounted for? What does the county earn from these monies? Is it possible to conduct a trial period of paid admissions to compare monies received versus monies donated? And we will begin with Mr. Sciarra.
So the question is if we can...
If we charge money to get into the zoo.
Well, we have a donation. I don't feel like we should. I feel like it's important that we look at the zoo. I think it's a good part of our resource in Cape May County. I feel like, it's great for tourism. I'm not involved with that, but I need to look at that.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Morey.
So I think that there's a lot of merit for the zoo to remain free to to its visitors. I have talked with the board about taking a look at a part of its master plan, which they're starting to implement now. Looking at an alternative to charging would be to look at parking fees for perhaps premium parking. So we'd still have an abundance of free parking, but also we look at the notion of premium parking or reserve parking, so folks could reserve a space ahead of time. That would be good for the entire park as well, not just for the zoo. So it wouldn't be just the zoo. That might also benefit, revenue might benefit for the entire park as well. But I'm presently a fan of it being free, and I used to actually feel the other way about it. But I do think that there are a number of folks who donate and contribute very substantially to the zoo towards new improvements and to its operations. And I think too much governmental, so to speak, operations and fees and charges probably dampen that down a bit, and the shift maybe focuses over to the government to maintain versus to residents joining in. So I like that shared partnership in the zoo. It's a treasure for the community. It's recognized on a national basis as an outstanding facility. So I would look around the edges at how we might monetize it a bit, but not adversely affect our population and those of modest means, because we want them coming back time and time again. There's a lot to be learned at that zoo by interacting with the animals and being with your family. We don't want to cut that back.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Casey.
Thank you. So part of the question is, how much does the zoo make in donations? And I'll be quite frank, I have no idea. But I think it's a good thing to look at. We should be examining is the zoo something that we could have some sort of nominal fee that would help support it or generate revenue for the county? But I think it's something, and again, in the overall self-reflection on all the services that Cape May County provides, we need to take a look at it and see, you know, are we managing it properly? Is this something that could be done differently by the private sector? We need to examine the spending, we need to examine the revenue source potential, and we need to look at the opportunity costs associated with every service provided by Cape May County, including the zoo.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Pierson.
Well, the zoo doesn't fall under my purview or Will's purview. It falls under Marie Hayes, so she ought to answer this question. She's in the audience. But the zoo is an integral part of our operation, and yes, we have a commission that oversees that, a board of public people that have volunteered to be on that board, and they help and work closely with the zoo workers there to manage assets and to contribute to make things happen and to build things there within the facility. Right now, we're working closely with Aramark to potentially build a new structure in there that it'll be a place that you can go in and have a dinner and sit right next to the animals. I think it's going to be where the tigers are, so it'll be a really up-close and personal experience. Will did come up with the concept of parking fees, especially for the buses. They're the ones that we look at because we get no generated income. We get donations as the people come through the door, and we get private donations, as Will said. So we have a lot of things going there, and that zoo has been fantastic. It's one of the highest rated zoos in the world as well as in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. Well, the saying goes, nothing's free in this world except bad advice, and I think that would probably stand with the zoo as well. I think the biggest thing is, without being able to get in there and see the budget or see what's being spent or see where it's being allocated, I would say, you know, publicity-wise, the zoo is a phenomenal thing. It brings people to Cape May County, and as Mr. Pierson stated, it's, you know, nationally ranked and nationally recognized. But I think one of the biggest things with me was when I worked on beach services in the city of Wildwood. You know, the big argument was about beach fees. The thing is, nobody wants a money grab. If you're just going to charge somebody that they've been getting for free, well, they're just thinking you're taking their money. You know, if you're taking their money but you're providing something or you're making something better, people are okay with that. So without being able to see the exact funds that are allocated, it's hard to directly answer that. But what I will say is, the simple part is, you put everything on the table. There's, you know, the money in Cape May County that's being spent it's recognized by all. It's up there. So the money is there. But do we add to the zoo? Do we take from the zoo? Do you charge? Do you not charge? And you have to really look at that. You see that you weigh the pros and the cons, and that's something that I love to do. I love to get involved and just see, you know, what's going to be the benefit versus what's going to be the negative adverse effects. So I would love to get involved in that and see, but a money grab isn't the way to go. But also giving away something that's coming out of county taxpayer dollars that they're not getting a direct benefit from is also tough to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next question. The impact of COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on Cape May County as well as the entire country. What are your plans as Freeholder to combat the impact of the pandemic on our economy? And secondly, how can we better prepare for any future pandemics? And we'll begin with Ms. Casey.
So I think the way that Cape May County can rebound is we need a strong voice in Trenton. I know we came out early, Brenda and I came out early in advocating for indoor dining. We came out advocating for small mom and pop shops because we didn't think it was fair that people could go to Target and buy whatever when you couldn't go to a small mom and pop shop. And I think we need a strong voice advocating on behalf of the businesses here in Cape May County to further open. At first, when the county closed down after the executive order in March, You know, there were thoughts of a regional approach, but that didn't happen. But now, as we're reopening, we need to think of it regionally. And Cape May County, knock on wood, you know, our numbers have remained low. There's been a little bit of a spike lately, but our numbers have generally remained low. And Cape May County needs to be moving forward. And we don't have to move together as a state at this phase. We can move together in a regional way, and we need advocates for Cape May County to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Pierson.
I hear her, but you got to understand that this COVID laws are directed by the governor of New Jersey, and there's things that you just can't do. And Will and I can attest to that there's been phone calls daily to the governor's office. We constantly are in touch with the governor's office, especially during the hot period that we had. And that's how, and I'll let Will cover the development of the plans that he got into and in his comments. But we have daily contact with the governor's office. We are constantly pressuring them to do more here in Cape May County. And yes, our numbers have gone down significantly since March and April timeframe when we were at our highest peaks. So it's not that we don't want to, but we can't because our hands are tied by governmental laws put out by the governor of New Jersey. So that's all I can say to that.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Ms. Casey, would you like a rebuttal?
Oh, I recognize that Cape May County is bound by the executive orders, but I think we could advocate going forward for a more regional approach. And, you know, I know Brendan is also in contact with the governor's office and has been advocating on the behalf of Cape May County and the business owners.
Can I have just 30
Thank you, Ms.
seconds?
Casey.
Can I have 30 seconds to rebut?
No, we only have one rebuttal. She did not mention your name, so she got a rebuttal from your comment. You may speak later, though. You may address it later. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. I've been on the front line with COVID since it began. It hasn't been pretty for a EMT, for a firefighter, for a police officer, for a nurse, for a doctor. It's been tough. It also hasn't been easy for someone having to make a decision. But the problem is, I would get done my shift at work where guys had dealt with COVID patients and they're stressed out. They go home. They have to deal with, can I go home? My wife's pregnant. Am I going to give it to her? How do I handle this? And then we get through that, and then as I'm riding home, I see a friend who owns a business. And I ask them how they've been doing. Down 80%. Probably going to shut the doors. Probably going to close up. I'm not dodging the question, but it's easy for me to Monday morning quarterback how to handle it. But what I will say is, you need to be firm. Stand up to it. We're here to represent Cape May County. We're not here to represent New Jersey. The people of Cape May County have been relatively sheltered from this disease, luckily. The people from Cape May County aren't going to be sheltered from the after effects. We need to be able to provide, and I don't want to keep harping on it, but the mental health aspect of it has got to be a focus moving forward, and I will direct my energy and resources towards that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Thank you. First of all, in the COVID-19, I would like to just thank all the essential employees, first responders for, putting their neck out there during this whole, and any loved ones people have lost. But going back to the start of COVID-19, I think I've probably been the most vocal, maybe behind the scenes, to make sure Cape May County is not North Jersey. It is not. One thing that, I bring to the table, I can reach across party lines. I can make phone calls. I have a great relationship with the Senate President. I have a great relationship with the Speaker and with the Governor's office. I've been putting out releases. I think I'm on the New Jersey, I was on the New Jersey Restart Council for Advisory Council. And, I might not go out there and do everything the way with bells and whistles, but I fought for Cape May County. And I made sure, I think I called most of the businesses in Cape May County to see what, feel them, what their problems are, what they need. And, that's the big part of this state. It's different. We're not North Jersey. And, I can say here, I think, when Will he was also on the New Jersey Recovery Council, there was times that, we talked, but, I will fight for Cape May County. And I will make sure that, regardless of Republican, Democrat, Independent, that, we're heard. I think the governor's sick of hearing me, honestly, about how we can open up, what we need, financial assistance, and we need to make sure that these businesses get some financial assistance through the COVID-19, maybe the second phase or the third phase, and the municipalities. We need to make sure the municipalities have the ability to survive, and the taxpayers. So I will fight for Cape May County nonstop.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. And Mr. Will Morey?
Thank you. Brendan, you criticized the freeholders for not doing enough, yet you're the Democratic Party chair, you have all these contacts, but you criticize us for not moving the ball further. So in my view, I am really pleased with the coalition that got formed, with the task force of businesses that got formed in sometime in early April, between the business task force, and your input, of course, was invited to that, as you know, between the mayors, the health sector. We dove into the health sector to make sure that when we presented a plan to the governor, it wasn't going to be with the health sector saying, no, that doesn't make sense, there's no science behind it. So we presented a plan on the 5th of May. We had a call that evening with George Helmy, and I think it was Mike Delamater. And, my experience is it's just not who you know, it's being a part of the solution. You've got to bring solutions. You got to add value to the conversation. And in my view, we had data, we had science, we had protocols, and we were able to show, I think, the heart and inspiration of Cape May County and how they could handle this pandemic, and how they were, the wonderful and beautiful words of one of the retailers in Megan Pertassi, when she said, "We can do hard things." And we said, you know what? Cape May County can do hard things. It's just not the big box stores. Give these people an opportunity. In my view, we said we need to build a ramp to the summer. We need to build a ramp to July and August. That's what it's all about. When we presented the table to the governor's office, they said basically, we like your plan. It's a top-notch plan. We're about 2 weeks off from where you are on your table. Personally, I think that's effective lobbying. I think that's bringing solutions to the table, and I was honored to be a part of the group that did that.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Mr. Sciarra, would you like a rebuttal?
Yes. I'm criticizing the Freeholder Board because, listen, Governor Murphy is a Democrat, and I think I went against him pretty hard at a lot of different spots. And regardless of the Freeholder Board, yes, you guys can pass resolutions asking on the governor to do stuff. I think I was more than clear on you on a couple of the instances, and I didn't think I even picked up the phone and called you and said, put some pressure on the governor's office. I can't put any more pressure on the governor's office. It takes a bipartisan effort to get stuff done. So in regarding the task force, listen, I wasn't on the task force, the county task force for whatever reason, that's fine. But all I'm saying is that I pushed cross-party lines to get Cape May County open. And yes, in a way that's safe and sound and secure. So
thank you, Mr. Sciarra.
Regardless of that, that's...
Thank you. The next question. For at least 2 years in a row, the public has submitted questions on nepotism. So we will again ask your opinion on this matter. Please state whether or not you believe that there is a nepotism problem in county government and explain your response. And we'll begin with Mr. Morey.
Sure. So in the private sector, you really have to focus on bringing the best talent, right, to the entity. And my focus from my position in the county is to make sure that occurs. I believe if you look back, in some period of time, I think that in politics generally, there was more nepotism in New Jersey generally than there really should have been. Since the time I've been in Freeholder Board, I don't see that in a substantial way. One of the things that I'm really focused on as well is to make certain, this is a small community, and we want to make sure that if someone has the talent and the capability to work for county government and has a drive to do it, that we don't say, well, you can't work here because your cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever it might be, has a position here. So I think that protocols are in place and certainly should always be looked at to be strengthened to make certain that the best talent comes to the table. We favor residents versus folks coming from out of county. We will hire folks from out of county if they're most qualified, but we want to support our residents, and we want to make sure that when they are hired, they earn the respect of other staff members because they know it wasn't a political job. They earned the job. People have to earn the job, and I think in Cape May County, we're to a point where people earn the job.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Yes, I mean, nepotism has always been an issue in Cape May County regarding the county workforce. That's what you're attaining to, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's very important that we have to take it on a case-by-case level. I think the best employee who has the best qualities, best attributes, who can give the most to their job should be hired. I think, if I was Freeholder, got luckily elected, I would talk to every one of the employees and hear from them, understand them, the bottom to the top. I think it's important that, it's been always good old boys network who's always got hired in the county. I've seen it for 20, 30 years. I think we need to relook at that. I think we should also hire within Cape May County because I think that's important. We have to make sure we give our people in Cape May County the best jobs, and we have to make sure they give back because I think they want to because we got to keep people back in Cape May County. That's really important so they're not migrating out to another county or giving their professional standards to somewhere else. But yes, it's been an issue. It's been an issue for 30 years, and I think it needs to be looked at, and I think we need to listen to every employee, understand them, case-by-case basis, hire within, and give the best quality for the best person.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Pierson.
Well, there are state rules and regulations that govern nepotism within the government. They do provide certain restrictions, such as if you're the son or daughter of a particular person, you cannot be under the direct supervision. You have to work somewhere else. So, yes, is there nepotism? Yes, maybe 1, 2, 3 cases, very small. But we hire on quality. We hire on those people that meet the standards of the position, the description of the position. That's how we hire. Whether it be somebody from within somebody's family or whether it be a resident, we certainly want to have a resident hired. Sometimes we have to go outside the county to get a particular skill because the technical skill is so high that it's not available here within the county, and we've had to recruit people in from other counties to serve with us. So I believe that nepotism is covered. We do it very well, and if we find some kind of violation, there are actions to be taken, and that's just the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. As someone that dealt with the question of nepotism my whole career, I'm strongly aware of this. And as Mr. Pierson had stated, there are laws that guide you what you can do. Nepotism isn't a problem in the county. Political patronage is a problem in the county. You have a better chance of getting a job or a position if you're part of a party rather than if you're part of a bloodline. And I think that's the issue that needs to be addressed. You can't just go and appoint someone because they're a family or a relative. There's laws that are in place that stop this. But you can go and appoint someone that is part of your party or that did donate or that may benefit you down the road. There's 5 of us up on this stage, and there's one of us that can go like this without strings attached. There are no strings attached to me. I'm here for the voters. Nepotism isn't an issue. The most qualified person will get it. If there's laws that allow that, they allow that. If there's laws that don't, then they don't. But as far as nepotism being an issue, like I stated, the real issue is political patronage. And if you're not sure about that, there's a committee chairman who's a political, he's running the party for some of them. He used to be a judge. He's now a chairman. He'll be another position next, and that'll be filled by the next person that can get the most amount of votes. So, one person without strings attached. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano.
So can I speak to that, please?
Was he referring to you?
I think he was referring to the Freeholder Board.
All right, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Sure, thanks. So,
We're all referring to the Freeholder Board, so do they respond to everything that addresses the Freeholder Board? Not, I mean, point of order.
I was assuming that he was responding to you then, Mr. Morey. He didn't mention your
I was not
name.
referring to Mr. Morey, not at
Okay.
all.
You can make
Sure.
some comments. You can make some comments in your
Uh,
closing statement.
how about I
Okay?
keep it
You can
brief?
you can address it then.
I don't want to do it then.
Thank you.
Do I have to?
You'll have 90 seconds then.
All right.
Yes.
I got
We
100.
need to hear from Ms. Casey now.
Thank you. Not to be a stickler for the rules, but I am a lawyer. So I think nepotism and cronyism continue to be a persistent problem in Cape May County. And while I appreciate that there are prohibitions against direct supervision, we have people who have jobs in Cape May County who fail miserably at their jobs, and because their family members are moved throughout the county. It's horrible for our employees, it's horrible for the morale, it exposes the county to the potential lawsuits, and that has to stop. And I'm not saying that we need to terminate all family members, but they need to be looked on, as Brendan said, in a case-by-case basis. That we are hiring not just the bare minimum for the job, but the best qualified. We want the best qualified people working for our county, and we want opportunity for our employees to move up, and that's where cronyism comes in. And cronyism puts a ceiling on for our employees, where they can go no higher because there's going to be a political appointee who's going to be coming in, making $100,000 or $14,500 a month, and we need to put an end to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. The next question. Are you satisfied with the current policies and procedures in Cape May County government that address diversity, inclusion, and equality? If yes, please state why these policies are sufficient. If no, please state what needs to be changed. And we'll begin with Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. That's a tough question to address, not knowing the exact policies on inclusion and diversity, but I think it goes back to the simple answer of, regardless of race, class, gender, creed, you hire the most qualified person. I think when you try to overcompensate and you want to benefit one group over another, regardless of whom it is, you exclude somebody. So to just treat everybody equally and not put a label on somebody that's going to be the best person in that position, that's what you want to go for. If you hire someone just off of, maybe filling a certain class, a race, or a gender, you're going to create resentment throughout. So by trying to include some, you're excluding others. Like I stated, I don't know of the policies that are in place with the county. I'm sure they follow along the state federal guidelines, but for me, the most qualified person is the one that should get the job regardless of any of those classifications. And at the end of the day, like I said, I fall back on, you treat people like a human being, you treat people like if you were in that interview chair and you wanted to be treated, that's what you do. If they qualify and they're going to be the best person for Cape May County and its residents, then you hire them. If not, then you don't. It's simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Casey.
So New Jersey has incredibly strong laws against discrimination in hiring, and Cape May County is governed by those as well. So the laws are in place. What I think we need to look at is implicit bias. And for those who aren't familiar with it, and I know I'm speaking from my position as a privileged white woman, we need to look at how we hire people. And we can't just look at what college you went to or who you know. We need to step outside of our comfort zone and look at individuals separate and apart from our own, recognize our own bias when we're doing hiring. I think the policies and procedure in place, it's what we need to look at in terms of training and making sure that we all check our implicit bias when we're doing hiring in the county.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Sciarra.
Thank you. I don't know the current policy within the County Freeholder Board regarding the training and diversity manual, et cetera. But if I'd be elected, I'd be more than happy to dive into that and understand it. I think it's really important that we hire the best person for the job. I think it's important that we have a diverse workforce, and a diverse workforce will, create a good county workforce. I think we need to look at all the individuals, regardless, of any ethnic, white, black, gay, any different nationalities, to make sure whoever does the job can perform it. I think it's really important that we understand that a workforce that's diverse is definitely helpful for Cape May County.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Morey.
So I would question whether there's a company or an entity, institution in America after the last 5 months who hasn't said, let's step back and see whether or not we are really recognizing and welcoming diversity. So in my view, that should happen at this point in every company, and Cape May County is not excluded. There's reality and perception. The reality may be that we're blind to who we hire. We're completely open. We're not biased in any way, shape, or form. And that's, of course, the way it should be. But what is the perception? Is the perception that I can apply for a job there, that I'll have fair and even treatment? And I think it's really important that we examine that. So it's not just the reality, but what is the perception, and is there any messaging that would suggest anything different than that? So I believe that again, from what we've seen over the last several months, through movements throughout the country, and I think a real focus on trying to come together as a community and as a country, I think we need to make certain that we are walking the talk, so to speak, of encouraging and welcoming employment opportunity in Cape May County, as I do at Morey's Piers and other places throughout the county and world.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Next, Mr. Pierson.
Yes, I think we have a pretty good diverse workforce. I can just sit here and think of 4 of my directors that are females, and one sitting here in this room. We do have minorities employed in critical positions throughout the county. So I think we do fairly well. Could we do better? Of course. We can always do better. But I think as far as diversity of the county, we look at everything when the person comes in the door to make sure that we have the person that fits the job, as well as that they are the right person to do the job.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Since we're running out of time, we're going to stop there as far as the questions, and we'll begin with the final comments. Remember that this is a time for you to respond to other statements that have been made or clarify your own position. And we'll start with Mr. Troiano.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for everyone attending. And I just want to say, generally, I like everybody up here, and I wish them the best. General Pierson was babysat by my grandmother. Granted, it was back in the early 1900s, still. Sorry, I had to. But I just want to let everybody know, my statement of people over politics stands true. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. I go to a job every day in the fire department where that phone rings or that bell goes off. It's usually someone that has a problem. People aren't, sometimes they call us over for the barbecue, but mainly they're calling for a problem. And when I get there, my job is to solve that problem, whether it's to completely alleviate it or to find a way to mitigate it. It's not easy. I'll tell you that right now, but I'll tell you, it's a lot easier than getting involved and being able to help people that you really care about. Like I stated before, I'm a 4th generation in Cape May County, raising a 5th generation. I want to be around for the 6th and 7th generation. My interest is solely to benefit the people of Cape May County. I have no personal benefit from this. I'm looking for no personal gain. I don't want a position. I don't need to move up in the party. I don't need any of that. I'm here to serve the people of Cape May County. That is what I signed up for. That is what I'm asking you to do. I spoke with a very wise man, and he gave me some some good advice. I'm not good at asking for things, but I will say I'm asking for your vote. I'd appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano. Next, Mr. Pierson.
Yes, earlier that we talked about regionalization, and I would like to assure you that we do talk very closely with our Southern New Jersey Freeholder Association partners on many, many things, to include COVID, and we work very closely with Cumberland and Atlantic County. As far as the discussion earlier on our appointed administrator, his firm was already under contract with us, and we took him on temporarily until we can go out and advertise and find a new administrator. I think his position ends in November or so, and we'll be advertising shortly. But as a freeholder board, I just want to point out that we have made outstanding efforts over these last several years. We've developed projects. We're moving forward in many areas. And if you heard one thing up here, everything was that we can spend more money. Yet they were hollering at us about spending more money, that we spend too much money. Yet they're saying we need to spend more money in other areas. The ideal operation is to prioritize and move it to the proper place, and we are doing that, and we're working very hard on that. I want to thank you for all attending tonight. I want to thank the audience that may be on the air and listening to us. I want you to vote column 2, and I want you to get me elected. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Next, Ms. Casey.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here tonight. I'm going to respond briefly to what Jeff said about the spending. It's reallocation. It's reallocation. It's not spending $265,000 on settlement fees for lawsuits. It's not building a jail where that money could have gone to bridges. It's not wasting the money that we have. We spend so much per resident that we can allocate those funds to really meet the needs of our community. And I think that's the difference, is that we want to look at how we can dig down into the budget, look at each of the services provided. Can we provide it? Can the public sector provide it better? Is that something that we still need to be providing as a county? And I think having fresh eyes, having a different perspective, having checks and balances on the Freeholder Board will benefit the entire community, because we'll be looking at things from a different point of view and questioning, I know we've always done it this way, but maybe we should do it a different way. And it's having fresh blood, fresh perspective on the Freeholder Board that will really be an advantage for all of us. I think we really need to focus on the infrastructure and COVID recovery. Those are two things that in the short term, we really need to put the county's money where the mouth is and deal with those issues that are going to be coming up. As I said before, thank you so much to the other candidates, and thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for inviting me here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Next, Mr. Morey.
Thank you. So public office, it's not really about politics for me. I actually find politics today pretty disappointing and unappealing. So to me, it's always been about content and substance and good ideas. That's what wins. And you want to talk about sort of a different voice on the board? Ask my Freeholder colleagues what they think of my voice on the board sometime. And cultivating a shared vision for the future, bringing collaborative forces together to bear, that to me is that's where problems are solved. You know, that's where opportunity is created. And in my view, that's the goal. In some ways, I consider myself a fierce collaborator, certainly not a competitor. Strong county finances and services are an important foundation for that. And consistently, as I mentioned earlier, Cape May County vies as having the lowest tax rate in the state. And that's all why we're funding bridge and other infrastructure along the way. Strong cash and reserves, low debt, and a top-notch bond rating by Moody's. These are all prime. These are all prime ingredients to help the county act deliberately on whatever problem comes its way. Recently, I read, I think, a really interesting quote, and it kind of described, I think, why I'm where I am today, why I had the interest in this position, and that is, far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. Well, the people of Cape May County, they're doing their work is worth it. It's worth it to me. They deserve the very best from those they entrust with public office, and I only hope that I am delivering that to them, and that I will deliver that in the future if they are so kind to restore me to this position for another year. It's my privilege to do this work, and I ask for your support to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. Mr. Sciarra?
Yes, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight, and I would like to thank all the candidates up here and wish them all good luck. Why am I running for Freeholder? I'm running for Freeholder because, I'm probably not the best speaker. I'm not, present myself sometimes as the best, but I love diving in and trying to get things done. I enjoy I think I looked at the whole county budget maybe last night or a couple of days ago, went through line items, tried to understand where their numbers are, where they go. I think the big part of if people elect me is that I will dive into every sector of county government and try to do better. Regardless of, if there's issues, I will try to fix the issues. I'm task-orientated. I want to get stuff done. I also can bring to the County Freeholder Board, I will reach across party lines. I have Republican friends, Democratic friends, independent friends. And I think that's the most important thing to make sure Cape May County is representative. It needs to be represented in the state. It needs to have a voice, and a loud voice. And Cape May County can always do better. And regardless, I will make sure it does better. And I'm running, and I'm looking forward to this task if I'm luckily get elected, and I will fight for it. And when I'm done fighting, you guys, they can vote me out. I'm not in this for the long term. I think I want to bring fresh eyes to the Freeholder Board, and I think it needs to happen. The Freeholder Board has been stagnant. It's been like this for 20 years, and I'll make sure every municipality has a voice at the table and understands. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sciarra. That completes our forum for this evening, and I'd like to thank Curtis Bashaw and Congress Hall for the use of this room tonight, and thank all the candidates, and let's give them a round of applause. Remember to vote. Please vote.